Hi, everybody. I'm Mr. Boone. I'm the co-op coordinator here at Delcastle. I'm going to spend a little bit of time today going over our co-op program, explaining that to you, going through the ins and outs of it, and hopefully answering any questions and clearing up any confusion in regards to co-op. So let's jump into it here. Let's start off by just talking about what the purpose of co-op is. All right. Co-op, and I'll move my picture here. There you go. So you can read your screen. Co-op is an opportunity for you to leave school, sign out of here, and go out and work in your related industry. So if you're in auto body, you're going to go out and work in an auto body shop. If you are in medical assisting, we're going to have you in some sort of a healthcare office. Okay. It's an opportunity for you to go out and gain real world experience. That's the benefit here, while also being paid and earning your high school CTE credits towards graduation. So the real advantage here is you're able to gain real world experience. An important thing for everyone to remember, though, is that not all students are granted the opportunity to participate in co-op. It is something that must be earned, and it is something that must be maintained once given that opportunity. So it's not a right for our students. It's not a right that our students have to participate in co-op. It's something that you must earn ahead of time. All right. Three different schedules that we work off of, really two main schedules that we'll talk about, and then those schedules can be combined together. So I'll put all those on the screen right here for you. Okay. The first one is our half-day schedule. That is what the majority of our students participate in when going out to co-op. We also have what we refer to as a 2-week about schedule. And then the third option is you can actually combine these two if you're on a 2-week about schedule. So I'd like to break them down a little bit further and give you a little bit more detail there. So we'll start with our half-day schedule, as this is what the majority of our students participate in. So if you're a junior participating in co-op, you would be on a half-day schedule. And that means you can only participate in co-op during your career area time. We refer to that as CTE. So that's your shop class. All right. So some of our juniors may have their shop class in the afternoon. Some may have it during periods 1, 2, 3, 4. But the bottom line is, as a junior participating in co-op, you cannot miss any academic classes for going to work for your co-op job. So you can only work during your CTE time. As a senior, the same holds true. But for our seniors, our schedules align a little bit better. So your senior year, all of your academic classes will be loaded in the morning. You'll have them during periods 1, 2, 3, 4, and in a lot of cases, period 5. You'll have a lunch period. You can certainly work during your lunch period, and you can also work during your CTE time. In some cases, you may have some open blocks in there. Maybe you've already completed some graduation requirements. So you may have a course on your schedule that says co-op enrichment or dual enrollment enrichment. You are permitted to work during those times. So really the only times you can go out on a half-day schedule to work co-op is every day you have to complete your academic classes. Then you can go to work during co-op enrichment, dual enrollment enrichment, certainly during your lunch period, and also during your CTE or shop time. It is important on a half-day schedule that you sign out of school every single day. I cannot be more clear about this. You cannot leave our building to go to work without signing out for co-op, and that is done through eHall Pass. Once you are approved to begin co-op, you'll receive a Schoology message from me telling you that you're approved. And there will be some instructions in there on how to sign out for co-op. Make sure you follow those. My advice to all of you is set a reminder or an alarm in your phone for every single day, Monday through Friday, that you are in school during the time that your academic classes end and you would be signing out to go to work. Your alarm will go off every day, and when it goes off, you should go ahead and sign out through eHall Pass. Our goal is for all co-op students on a half-day schedule to work a minimum of 20 hours per week. That opens things up for you. I'll give you an example. You are a culinary arts student, and your schedule, your workday begins at 4 p.m. And you're going to work every day 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Okay, that's 6-hour shifts. Let's say you are scheduled for work on Tuesday and Thursday, 6 hours each. That gives you 12 hours. And then you're scheduled for an 8-hour shift on Saturday. That gives you a total of 20 hours that week. All right. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you are not scheduled for work. However, because you have met your minimum hourly requirement of 20 hours per week, you are still permitted to sign out of school after your academic classes, leave here, and go enjoy yourself. Go home and catch up on your schoolwork. You can enjoy some free time there, free time that you lose out on when you're at your co-op job. Essentially, what we're trying to do is replace your classroom time, 20 hours per week, roughly estimated, that you would receive in culinary arts. We're replacing that with a co-op job at any other time, right? So that can be during school hours, after school hours, or weekend hours. Any of those work. All right, so 20 hours per week is the minimum that we're shooting for. The other thing that does is senior year, you may have some classes in your schedule that are not required for graduation. If you're working a minimum of 20 hours per week, this affords you the opportunity to be able to drop those classes from your schedule if you'd like. The next schedule we'll talk about is our 2-week about schedule. Okay. This schedule really pertains to our construction cluster, as well as our automotive programs. Students in other career areas are also eligible for the 2-week about schedule, but the areas that it really benefits the most is our construction programs and our automotive programs. The important thing to remember about a 2-week about schedule is that it is a year-long schedule. So at the start of second semester, you do not get a new set of classes. The classes that you have at the start of the school year carry throughout the entire school year. Therefore, we have to put you on a 2-week about schedule before the middle of September. So when your senior year begins, we only have about a 3-week window to find you a job, get an interview lined up, conduct the interview, accept the job offer, get your paperwork done, and get you switched over to a 2-week about schedule. It's a very small window. So it's my advice that we do all of this ahead of time at the end of your junior year. It's important that we set you up with your co-op job and that you work that job the summer between your junior and senior year, so that when you come into senior school year, you already have your co-op job lined up and we've already put you on a 2-week about schedule. And we're not in a frenzy in a short amount of time to try to get that done. All right. The other important thing here is because those academic classes run all year long on a 2-week about schedule, once you go on to the 2-week about schedule, you cannot come off of it. So if for some reason you were to lose your job or get laid off or be terminated or something happened, we cannot move you off the 2-week about schedule and just put you back in a regular classroom. You are locked into those classes and that schedule for the entire school year. So if you were to lose your job, what you need to do is come back into school on the weeks that you would be scheduled for work, and you're going to report to your career area, and you're going to be in carpentry, in auto body, in auto tech, in sheet metal. You would be in that classroom all day long for those 2 weeks. You would typically be scheduled for work. Okay. We don't just get that time off because we don't have a job. You don't just stay home and skip out on it. We have to account for your school hours. The way we do that is we put you in your career area so you can still gain those credits. On a 2-week about schedule, students are placed in either group 1 or group 2. While group 1 is at work for a 2-week period, group 2 is in school. And every 2 weeks, those two flip-flop. Group 2 would go out to work and group 1 would come into school. During your work rotation, the 2 weeks that you're at work, there is no new academic lessons being conducted. There's no new instruction or material being conducted. So you're not responsible for any academic coursework during the 2 weeks that you are out to work. The only exception there would be if you fell behind during a class and you have makeup work that you need to do. You may need to do that during the 2 weeks that you're out at work. After you get off from work in the evenings when you get home, you would basically have homework to do. But that's the only time where you would be responsible for academic work during the 2 weeks that you're scheduled for work. Okay. And then the third option is that we would combine these two. So if you're on a 2-week about schedule, during the 2 weeks that you're in school, you would basically fall under that half day category where you have your academic classes in the morning, then you go to lunch, then in the afternoon you go to your career area. So during that career area time, if your job allowed you to come to work, you could actually go to work for 2 weeks. Then the 2 weeks that you rotate into school, do your academic classes in the morning, sign out of school, and go work the afternoon instead of going to your career area. It affords you the opportunity to work 2 weeks full time and then work part time for a 2 week period while you're in school. Then go back out and work full time for 2 weeks, and then again part time for the 2 weeks that you're in school. So that would be sort of combining that 2 week about schedule and the half day option. Okay, so what makes us eligible for co-op? Okay, there's a number of things here. Number one, we need to have a 2.0 GPA. We also need to be on track with our graduation requirements. We need to have good attendance. We cannot be a discipline concern here at Delcastle. So if you're discipline concern here in our building, we're going to assume that you're not going to do what's expected of you while you're out at work. You need to be recommended by your shop teacher, and that's a big one, okay? Even if you have a 2.0 GPA and you qualify for our co-op program, that does not mean that you're automatically accepted into it. You must be recommended by your career area teacher. So they have to be on board with things. They have to assume that you are going to represent us the way we expect you to when you're out in the industry. You need to have transportation, okay? So the best means of transportation is your own vehicle, right? But I know that's expensive. It's the most reliable, though. You control things then. You get in your car and you drive to work. You're not reliant upon someone else. Not everyone has their own transportation. So some other options that students use are the DART bus. There is a DART bus very close by to Delcastle, and I'm happy to walk you through that process if that's an option you're considering. We also have students every day that utilize Uber or Lyft. They come right to school, pick them up, and drive them to work. That is a little bit more expensive, but again, you're not paying for your own gas for your vehicle. You're not paying for car insurance. You're not buying the car itself. You're not paying for any sort of maintenance on your vehicle. So it is a reliable means of transportation. And in the grand scheme of things, it is less expensive than owning your own vehicle. Okay. We need to secure jobs. We've got to be able to find a job to be able to go out and work. And then we need to maintain all these standards. So once you become eligible for co-op, we need to maintain eligibility. And the biggest hurdle that we run into there are grades. You cannot fall behind in your grades. Just as quickly as you are enrolled in co-op, we can disenroll you, even if you're on a 2 week about schedule. If you're not maintaining passing grades in your classes, then I will come to you, have a meeting with you and your school counselor, and we may determine that you need to be removed from co-op and spend the full school day here in school to keep you on track for graduation. Remember that school and graduation is our number one priority. Co-op is secondary to that. So you must maintain passing grades. Okay, let's talk about how we get enrolled in co-op. All right. So the first thing, juniors become eligible for co-op at the start of second semester, which basically begins the start of February, end of January. Number one, if you want to participate in co-op, you need to start with your shop teacher, your CTE teacher. Talk to them, let them know that you have transportation, that you're interested in co-oping, and find out what your options are. Okay, the second thing we need to do is check with myself or your school counselor to see if you're eligible. We need to check your GPA. We need to check your class schedule. We need to check out your current grades. Make sure that you're on track for graduation. So once we pass that hurdle, then we need to find a job. Now this is big. This is not Mr. Boone's job to find all of our students employment opportunities. It's your job and it's your responsibility to find that. I'm here to assist you. Your shop teacher is here to assist you. But you and your shop teacher should begin this conversation. Go to them, say, I'm interested in co-op, I have transportation. I already spoke with Mr. Boone and my school counselor. I am eligible. I wanted to see if you have any opportunities available for me to pursue for co-op. Where should I start? Who should I call? Where can I apply? Have that conversation with your shop teacher, and then you need to pick up the phone and make some phone calls. Call the employer. Introduce yourself. Hello, my name is such and such. I'm an auto body student at Delcastle High School, and I'm looking for a co-op job. I was wondering if you have any opportunities available. Start that conversation with the employer. If you get somewhere with them, set up an interview. Keep myself and your shop teacher in the loop throughout this whole process. Let us know who you've been in contact with, that you've scheduled an interview, and then we will help you along the way there. It's my job to help assist you through the process, give you some pointers, provide the paperwork with you, follow up, make sure that we're in compliance with our program. But it's your job really to take the lead here. Okay. So you need to find a job. And again, that should start with you and your shop teacher and keeping me in the loop. Once we've scheduled an interview, then we need to make sure that we pick up the appropriate paperwork. And I'll cover the paperwork in just a minute, but always take your co-op paperwork with you to the interview. There are a lot of times that an employer will offer you the job right there on the spot. And if they do that and you know that you'd like to accept it, you can present them with the paperwork and let them know that you have it today. Just say, actually, yeah, I'd like to accept, and I brought my co-op paperwork with me today. Any chance we could get this completed today so I can turn it in tomorrow and I can immediately be approved for co-op? So take your paperwork with you. You cannot begin working until your paperwork is turned in to Mr. Boone, myself, and I approve you. And I will tell you that you are approved. There are times where you'll go to an interview and the employer will offer you a job and say, great, I want you to start tomorrow. Come by the shop. Your response to them should be, I would love to start tomorrow, but I can't start until all of my paperwork is completed and approved by school. They won't let me leave for work until my paperwork's on file. I have my paperwork here today. Can we get it completed? And I will check in with Mr. Boone tomorrow to see if I'm approved. Okay. You cannot begin a new job for co-op until this paperwork is completed and approved. All right, so that's the last item that I'm covering right there on that screen. All right, speaking of paperwork, here it is. Only 2 forms that we need. Number one is your co-op training agreement. It is on the left side of the screen right here. It's a 2-page document. On the first page, you, the student, are going to complete that section. Okay, please make sure you fill everything in. I get a lot of questions. What is my program start date? That means what day do they want you to start working for them? All right. Please make sure I have a phone number on there where I can contact you. On the back side of that page, the bottom, the top of it is for the employer. So the employer is going to fill that section out. Please make sure the employer signs it. Sometimes you'll bring it back without a signature. I cannot approve it without the employer's signature. So please make sure they sign that. Lastly, down at the bottom, the first signature we need is a parent guardian signature. Whether you're 16 or 17 years of age or 18 makes no difference to me. I must have a parent guardian signature on this form for me to approve it. The student needs to sign it, and then it says career and technical instructor. That is your shop teacher. It should come to me as the last person to sign it. This form should be completely filled out when it comes to me. The second form we need is on the right side of your screen. This is a Delaware work permit. If your job is in Pennsylvania, you would need a Pennsylvania work permit. If it's in Maryland, you would need a Maryland work permit. But if it is in Delaware, then you would need to complete a Delaware work permit, only if you are under the age of 18. If you're 18 years of age, then you do not need this form. On this form, the employer will fill out the top section. Your hourly wage must be completed, and it must be at least whatever the current minimum wage is. The student must complete the middle section. If you are 14 or 15 years of age, a parent guardian signature is required. If you are 16 or 17 years of age, we do not need a parent signature. This form is going to come to me as the last person to sign that bottom section. Sometimes an employer will say, just take it to school and get them to sign it and bring it back, and then I'll fill in my area. I will not sign it. Unfortunately, you'll have to take it back to the employer. When it comes to me, I am an issuing officer for the Department of Labor. So I am verifying the company, I'm verifying the hourly wage, I'm verifying the student and the student's age when it comes to me. So without those top 2 sections completed, I'm not able to sign the bottom. So please make sure it is completely filled in before it comes to me. All right, so once you're out at work, what does it take to be successful? I think we already know a lot of these things, okay? These things are covered in your career area. Number one, be prepared for work. Okay. Don't be late. And that means don't just show up on time. Okay. If your shift starts at 1 p.m., you shouldn't be walking through the door at 1 p.m. You should be there at 12:45. Okay. Always shoot to be 10 to 15 minutes early. That way, if something unexpected arises, you need gas, you run into traffic, you have a little bit of issue with your car, whatever, you have a little grace period built in there. If you just shoot to be on time every day, you're going to tend to be late often. Motivation is the key. All right. You've got to be motivated while you're out there. You've got to be interested in the work that you're doing. Um, you know, this isn't charity work where this employer is just having you come here just to hang out and collect a paycheck. You need to contribute while you're there. You need to be motivated and interested in what's going on. Okay. Keep busy at all times. Always have something to do. And if you're not sure what to do, you should ask someone. Try to impress everyone there. Learn about initiative. That means doing something without being told it needs to be done. Show initiative. Absolutely stellar work ethic. All the things that we teach to you throughout your career area, those employability skills, these are things that we need to make sure that we're staying on top of. Ask questions. Do not try to take advantage of the system. Okay. What I mean by that is an example would be we have a student who lost their job and they continue to sign out for co-op even though they don't have a job that they're going to, or they have a job not related to their career area. So when they lost their co-op job, they just kept signing out, but they're going to Wawa to work there instead of a job related to their career area. We will eventually find out. I come out and do site visits. We also collect your evaluation forms. And eventually we're going to find out that you've been doing this. It's not our goal to catch you in a lie or something you shouldn't be doing, but we do have to make sure that we're following the proper process. So if something like that happens and you run into a situation where you're kind of stuck, you lose a job, or you're not sure what to do, come talk to me. I would much rather help you work through that process and set you up to be successful and give you some advice there, help you with the next steps, rather than have to clean this big mess up that is unfolded just because you didn't let us know what was happening. So communication is really the key to success with co-op. You've got to communicate with me anytime things are starting to not go the way that you had planned, or you're frustrated, or you're having some trouble with scheduling, or somebody at work, you don't know how to navigate through that process. Always communicate with myself and also with your shop teacher. And together, we'll help you work through that and make sure that you can stay out at co-op. All right, so communication is the key. Okay, take a moment and read this. Okay, just talks about representing Delcastle the way that we expect you to. There's a long line of people that have graduated from Delcastle before you. There's a lot of people that are going to graduate from Delcastle after you. But understand that when you're out in the industry and you're working as a Delcastle co-op student, you're not just working as yourself, but you're working as a representation of our programs here, your shop class, and all of Delcastle High School, all of the alumni that came before you, and all of the students that will be here after you've graduated and left us. So you have to make sure that you're leaving the right the right impression out there in industry. Okay, putting your best foot forward and always making sure that you're doing your best out there. All right, so how do we get a grade for the work that we're doing out there? Okay, you're working for Christiana Care, and you're receiving a grade in medical assisting. However, your medical assisting instructor is not there to evaluate you. So the evaluation form is how we do that. We collect an evaluation form at the end of each marking period. That means there are 4 evaluation forms throughout the course of your senior year. It is your responsibility to know when these evaluations are due and to get them completed. To find out what the due dates are, you simply go to Schoology, click on the co-op course in Schoology, and when you open that on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the due dates. Again, I encourage you to go into your cell phone and set reminders in your cell phone. If an evaluation form is due on January 6th, don't put a reminder in your phone for January 6th. Put it for January 1st, January 2nd. Okay, Give yourself about a week ahead of time to pick that form up, present it to your supervisor, give them a couple of days to fill it out, you to collect it up and return it to school before the due date. All right. Just knowing when those due dates are, having that reminder in your phone, and planning ahead a little bit is going to keep you on track right here. These evaluation forms can be found on the table located right outside my office door. The top section, circled in yellow, is for you to fill out. Please make sure that your name, your employer's name, and your career area are on here. Your career area just means what shop you're in. Feel free to also write your hourly rate. It's nice for us to see if you've received any wage increases along the way. That lets us know you're doing a good job, but also that your employer is taking good care of you and rewarding you for the job that you're doing. So you are going to complete the section in yellow. After you've done that, you present it to your supervisor. Just let them know that this is how you get a grade at school for the work that you're doing in co-op. Ask them if they can complete this section down below. Your employer should sign it, and then it is your responsibility to bring it back and place it in the evaluation basket that is on the table right outside of my office. Again, I cannot stress this enough. The evaluation form must be submitted before the due date. Okay, you do not have to come in exactly on the due date and turn it in. You're welcome to submit it a week ahead of time. All right, so go ahead and give this to your supervisor a week to 2 weeks before the due date, so you have plenty of time to get it done and return to my office. I'll make copies of your evaluation and give that copy to your career area teacher. They'll then take that, and that becomes a large portion of your grade. In all of our career areas, the co-op evaluation is at least 50% of your grade, and in some areas, it's as much as 100% of your grade. So we need to make sure we get it done. If you do not turn in an evaluation form, number one, you receive a failing grade for that marking period, and number two, you are removed from co-op. So please make sure you stay on top of this. All right, couple of questions that frequently get asked. What kind of job can I use for co-op? Bottom line here is that your co-op job must be related to your career area. The only exception there is if you have an IEP. If you have no idea what an IEP is, then you don't have one. If you know that you have an IEP, not a 504, but an IEP. If you have an IEP, you may be granted an exemption to work at a job that is not related to your career area. You would just need to talk to myself as well as your shop teacher to get that approved. Number two, how am I graded? We just covered that with that evaluation process, all right? Just remember, it's your responsibility to present that evaluation form to your employer, get them to complete it, and then return it to my office before the due date. Can I quit my job if I don't like it? You can quit your job if you're not happy there. However, we don't want things to progress to this point. So as soon as you start to have some frustrations or things aren't going well at work, don't let that boil and build. Catch that early on. Come in and talk to myself and talk to your shop teacher. Let us know what's going on. A lot of times it just deals with some miscommunication between a supervisor and the employee, and we can get things cleared up and we can salvage that relationship. If you don't come to us with those things, though, then they start to stack on top of one another. And eventually it reaches a boiling point where you're so frustrated that you feel the only option you have is to quit the job. We don't want to get to that point. So communicate with me and with your shop teacher, and a lot of times we can prevent this from happening. Your co-op job is replacing your shop class. You can't quit your shop class. So you can't just walk into work and just quit and walk out of there one day. Okay? That's not acceptable. If you're really frustrated and you need to leave the job, again, you come talk to myself and your shop teacher, and we will help you through that process if that's the road that we need to take. It involves you giving 2 weeks notice, working any shift scheduled during those 2 weeks, and then going ahead and resigning that way. We don't want to burn any bridges. We want to leave on good terms, and that's the proper way it should be done. So please make sure you communicate with myself and with your shop teacher as things progress here. And you need to get permission from us before you formally quit that job. Last one is, I want to work, but I don't have transportation. Are there any resources available? As I mentioned earlier in this recording, your own transportation is the best means. I do have students that rely on family members to get them to and from work. If that's the case, I encourage you to have a plan B. There's eventually going to be a day where that family member cannot get you to work. And the option then can't be, I need to call out of work because I can't get there. You need to have a backup plan. In those rare occasions, that may be a day where you've got to use an Uber or a Lyft to get to and from work, or you've got to use the DART bus. We have some students that use Uber, Lyft, or the DART bus every single day to get to and from work. Those are all options available to you. But again, I encourage you to have a solid plan before you pursue co-op. Know how you're getting to work on a daily basis. And if something happens, like your car breaks down or your ride can't get you there that day, what is going to be your backup plan so that you don't have to call out that day? Have those things in place ahead of time. Quick summary of our co-op program and things that we've talked about today. Okay, so become eligible for co-op as a junior. Co-op is a privilege, not a right. Your job must be related to your career area unless you have an IEP. Majority of our students will work a half-day schedule, but some of our students in those construction and automotive programs could be placed on a 2-week about schedule. Again, that needs to happen early on during the senior year, though. You must maintain your eligibility. That means maintain those passing grades, stay in good standing. As soon as you start failing classes or your grades drop below passing, we then have to pull you off of co-op. We don't want to fall into that category. You cannot start a co-op job before all of your co-op paperwork is completed, turned in to Mr. Boone, and I tell you that you are approved. You have signed a contract with your employer and you're receiving a grade for your co-op job. Every decision that you make in regards to your job must be approved by myself and your shop teacher, or there could be consequences. Make sure you represent Delcastle appropriately. And lastly, evaluations are due at the end of each marking period, and they are your responsibility to ensure they're turned in on time. If you have any questions about this presentation or co-op in general, please feel free to reach out to Mr. Boone on Schoology, or you can stop by my office, which is located in the main office. I look forward to working with all of you. Have a great day.